I think it's deliberately misleading, but you need to put context to it. Whenever the legislative arm of government, does work in harmony with the executive, some people come up with that impression that it has become a rubber stamp house. And so what they were expecting is to see fight between the executive and the National Assembly. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. The most important thing is that, do you scrutinize whatever the executive sends to you? Whatever you are passing, is it in the interest of the country? Does it really align with national interest? Because that, again, is very important. And if there is some level of harmony between the executive and the legislature, it means that things will begin to move in a manner that is faster. It means also that things will happen in the interest, of the country, rather than having a log jam. Are you following me? We have had situations where we have log jam in time past, and then many of the budgets were not implemented, and there were issues that actually slow down act of governance. So if governance is moving smoothly, and then most of the reforms that the government has in terms of policy is being implemented, duly and in compliance with the intention to create high level of development and all that, I don't see, that as a negative, impression being given that the house has become a rubber stamp. So his attitude also is important. We all have our ways of behavior. If there are those that always want to be combative, everything about them is, fight and war and all that. But there are those, there are those also whose character is judge, or we can discuss these things, we can iron it and all that, and then agree to disagree. Now, if the National Assembly has a person representing the executive amongst them, or in their midst, who represent the executive. And so before any bill comes, he has come to do groundwork. High level of interaction, high level of explanation, high level of clarification of the purpose of the law, bill, or policy. So that before it comes, the House has a clear understanding of what it's all about. And at the end, they now agree. It then means that the person who is at the helm of affairs is being strategic. He doesn't want a situation where we will have an issue with the legislature, because Parliament is very key. They are the representatives of the people. So getting them to agree to some of your policies or law, you want to enact is very important. And so if the executive in the House has somebody who does that for them, legwork, do all the interaction, do all the explanation, do all the clarification before the bill or the policy is being presented to them, in such a situation, you will have the House agreeing, because these things have been explained and I clearly understand it, agreeing to what the executive has actually presented, and it becomes easier. And so in that circumstance, it will not be very fair now to regard such a house as a rubber stamp, because there is smooth operation, there is harmony, between the executive and the Parliament. So it's better we look at it from a very deeper level, rather than look at it from a very shallow level and then jump to the conclusion that the House has become a rubber stamp. It may not necessarily be correct, so it's clearly misleading. I have had personal interaction with the leadership of both houses. The chairman of the committee for the House of Representatives, Honorable Balogu, we met one-on-one, and then I saw the enthusiasm in him in ensuring that this Electoral Amendment Act bill is passed for their assent, because they want that legal framework to be used in the next dispensation. The same thing with the chairperson of the Senate on electoral matters, the former governor of Plateau State. He is also very willing that particular law. But the holiday was created a hiatus, and so we immediately resume. I have this belief, because I also called the senator yesterday and said, look, what are you thinking concerning this particular electoral amendment bill? And they said, look, when they resume, it's something on their table, they will consider it. So I have this belief that they want to run the next election with a new legal framework, knowing fully where the gaps that was created by the interpretation given to 2022 Electoral Act. There were some gaps, that needed to be made clearer in the subsequent bill that is being considered, the amendment bill that is being considered, that so that those that were regarded as guidelines will now probably be made compulsory, in the law, and then empower the INEC more, the umpire more, in order to conduct both primary and then the proper election and all that. So I see that desire. And I also know that my principal himself is also interested in I remember many times he had asked certain questions about this electoral and has also made some pronouncement. If you Google, you will hear some of the things he has said concerning the electoral act, because he is of interest that there must be a new legal framework that will guide the process in 2027 in order to ensure that the will of the people is respected at the ballot, at the polling unit and all that. He has said that several times. So my own understanding, reading from the body language, is that they will willingly want to pass this bill and allow this new legal framework to guide the process in 2027. So I have that belief. The development is that the Senate President, in the person of distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, the current Senate President, GCON, has actually indicated intention to have everything about that particular case, off his mind, and he has asked that all matters, both civil and criminal, be withdrawn, which is being affected. His lawyers were around, for the civil matter. There's so many civil matters on that case. Concerning that case that is in court, and he has asked that those matters be withdrawn. The same criminal, of course, we are aware recently that the criminal cases were also withdrawn. So, to us, it's clearly an unfortunate incident that happened, and it's behind us. The Senate President has put it behind him, and that makes him a statesman. It makes a lot of people to see him as a genuine patriot, the man who loved this nation and loved humanity. The incident was clearly unnecessary, but it did happen, and we cannot forget it. But for taking the measures he has taken as a father, as a patriot, as somebody that loves this country, he received thumbs up from many genuine Nigerians for taking that particular step and making that gesture known. More so when there is spiritual allusion to it, that God spoke to him. If you know Akpabio very well, Akpabio is a man under tremendous grace, and that is the truth. Is unless you don't come close to him, if you come too close to him, you find out that he has grace. And that grace comes from the Almighty God. And he listens to Almighty. If God has told him this matter, get it off, forget about it and move on. And he has obeyed the voice of God. I tell you that is thumbs up for him, and he has received kudos from many Nigerians who are genuine. And so we have put it behind us. It was an unfortunate incident, but it did happen. But we can't forget. But we have also forgiven, and the man has moved on, and I give him kudos for doing that as a father. I wish her good luck if she continues with such behavior in future. It's good luck. There may be those who may not want to probably forgive and want to pursue to a logical conclusion. Are you following me? But I cannot stay here and speculate that she want to do such, because we're all human beings. We grow older by the day, and we begin to learn lessons. Are you following me? If anyone had told Senator Natasha that she could stay out of the parliament for 6 months, she wouldn't believe it. Even the day she was leaving that house, she said this injustice will now stand, this and all that, but she stayed out of that house for 6 months. Are you following me? So I think there are lessons she may also have learned. There are lessons that my own principal also must have learned, from this particular decision. There are certain people you need to keep away from your life. Nothing. Are you following me? Be careful in dealing with them and all that. So every lesson must have been learned. So I don't think that in future she will continue. But if you want me to speculate, I may be wrong. But if she continues, and those people she hurt in future may want to pursue it to a logical conclusion, good and fine, But whatever it is, we learn every day. It's also a lesson for me. We're all coming up. We must be careful in human interaction and human relationship. There are those that their intention in life is to draw you down and make sure that they destroy you. So you must be careful how you deal with them. But I tell you, lessons have been learned by both parties, and we have moved on. As I told you, the matters for civil will be withdrawn. The matters for criminal have already been withdrawn. We have moved on concerning the matter. It's past tense. That I'm even discussing it is because I give you that respect. Ordinarily, it is no longer an issue for us to discuss because it's forgotten. It's forgotten. But history will still have record of it. But the point is that I am very sure that history also will be kind to the man who says, I want to move on. Are you following me? I want to move on. This year is a new year. I don't want anything that will be, talking about me, that my matters are in court. I want to concentrate on my political career. It's a decision that he has taken, and we have to respect that decision. That is the most important thing. But for us, it's history. It's history. What you need to do is to advise appropriately based on law. You are not supposed to bring sentiment in giving an advice. Now, when you give that advice, you also is subject to your principal accepting it, because they look at many angles before they begin to act, because they are politicians. They look at it from the political viewpoint. They look at it from the realistic point of view. They look at it also from their own interest. These are considerations. Yeah, that you've given your legal advice does not mean that they will take it wholesale. They can take it. But when there are other considerations that must come in before the final decision is taken, you have to give it to them, because they are politicians, and they have interest. They have national interest, they have self-interest, they have all the interest. And all those things come in order for them to give the final approval. So it's not easy for you to just sit and say, I've given and all that, So they must look at all that, and then they come in and say, yes, in the national interest, this is what we go. Your legal advice may work even against national interest, and they will think that if you take this advice, it might it might hurt the nation if we do it that way. So let's do it in a way that, the nation is also spared of any hazard. So they take that decision. And so you also is to advise. Your principle is to take. Whether that advice can be taken or not, it's a different ballgame. But you have come to help them to look at it from a very legal point of view, based upon my own advice now as a lawyer. So mine is to give legal advice. They now have to bring other considerations before the final. Okay, this is correct. We agree with you. We don't agree with you over this, and this is the reason why we disagree with you. Are you following me? So the reality is that when you are in politics, what happens outside is not what happens, So there are a lot of considerations, So, but when people say, see on television and talk and all that, the reality is that there are so many things even for the president. The president sees that, there are many things that make him to take a decision. He has to look at it forward, he goes forward, he goes backwards, he looks sideways and all that. Then with that hindsight, and all that, he takes a decision that at the end, when it comes out, every interest has been actually reflected, and there won't be any hurt. So politics is a complicated game. The way you sit down in your room and analyze these things and all that, not the reality. When they come in the reality, when you meet reality, that's why it's good for us to begin to aspire, to be in governance, in order to know these realities. Because one thing is to be an armchair critic, sit down there, do all the analysis and all that. But when you come in and then these realities confront you, you have to be more realistic and balance it in such a manner that you don't get hurt, and nobody gets hurt. The system doesn't get hurt. Even the country doesn't get hurt. So that is what I just want to explain. In a bill is being processed leading to an act. The two chambers will pass those laws, separately. Now, when they do, if there are differences, they now set up a committee to harmonize. Then it's after the harmonization, you now say this is a bill now passed by the National Assembly. So the next thing now is to present to the President for saying. But I tell you this, there were so many inputs, regarding the new amendment that took into cognizance some of the interpretation flaws of the 2022 Act. There were so many gaps. There were so many flaws. We thought that, yes, like the issue of beavers and then IREV, issue of transmission, we thought it was compulsory. But by the time the court interpreted it, they gave it an interpretation that shows that it's a mere guideline that doesn't have any force of compulsion. Are you following me? That again is what was being considered and being corrected in the new amendment. Then the issue of documentary evidence, that you have to bring all the witnesses again, because they were trying to do away with calling all the units, yes, no, not the even presiding officer, your agents. If you want to prove, any irregularity and all that, you still have to bring your, the person that was your agent in all the polling units in order to come and give evidence. But I'm taking into cognizance the timeline, that is very limited. You may not have that luxury of bringing all of them. And that's why Section 137 now says, if you produce the certified true copy, of the result sheets, certified true copy, it should suffice. Anyone can tender it in court. But we still hear, we still, learn that the court was reading such procedure as dumping of document. You are dumping document. You didn't bring any witness, from the polling unit to come and explain them at home. So I think that again is being taken care of in the new amendment, so that we now rely more on documentary rather than calling physical witnesses in the light of the timeline that is very short for you to present your case, right? So more powers, as I said earlier, is given to INEC. Then the issue of BVAS. BVAS is very key. BVAS is the process through which you do the accreditation, right? Now, we rely more on the BVAS record to really show how many people came to vote. You don't begin to look for any other data. Rather, BVAS data should suffice that these are the accredited voters that that actually voted. So then it again is being more refined more in the amendment. There were so many other issues, issue of timeline again. How many months before the election? How many months campaign, and then how many before the election itself? Then even the primaries, because it took almost 1 year after the primaries for politicians to keep on spending money before the election. I think they're trying to now reduce the level. Yeah. So all those are being taken into cognizance to avoid the flaws of 2022 Act. Remember that this government is very serious in terms of correcting those electoral flaws. You know what they did? It took us almost 12 years to correct that of 2010. It was corrected in 2022, which is 12 solid years. Now, election took place in 2023. This present government says, look, there are some flaws during the interpretation, but we need to correct it. And what did they do? In 2025, they started the amendment process. Doesn't it show a government that is serious in making sure that the legal framework that will guide the electoral process is very, very efficient, very free from ambiguity, and then more efficient, and then also for implementation and enforcement, right? And creating more transparency. So you see that seriousness on their own part in taking the amendment process immediately after the last election. So that shows seriousness on their own part. They didn't want to wait up 12 years before correcting that procedure. So the House of Reps, remember, has passed their version. It's only for the Senate now to then they harmonize and then now send for assent. I'm praying and I'm begging the Senate that immediately they resume. Nigerians are looking forward to the Senate sitting down to actually look at that electoral bill as one of the first thing they would need to consider as upon resumption, and then pass it. So that the issue of doubting whether these people are genuine or they want an electoral framework that actually will ensure transparent electoral process will be will be completely gone, so that nobody harbors any doubt as to the sincerity of the most distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They mean well for this country, and I believe that immediately they resume, they will be able to consider that bill. And I believe that the president will assent to that particular bill immediately is presented to him. It's my belief, it's my conviction, meaning that President Bola Tinubu has the interest of this country at heart, and he wants electoral process that will be very transparent, free and fair, and then the process credible. And then we should be able to lead African countries, in terms of fairness of electoral process. Kenya, South Africa, and even Ghana. They are ahead of us now in terms of conducting an election where it shows high level of credibility. So we should come to that level. And then it helps investors. When investors see that your electoral process has come to the level where you determine who governs you, they will feel comfortable coming to invest in that country because they know you have matured politically. And then any investment cannot in any way be truncated. Are you following me? So they watch these things and all that. So it is in our own interest to have electoral process that is free, fair, that now instills confidence in the heart of investors. So it's our own interest. We don't need any outsider, Donald Trump, to be the one now to begin to, police us and say, oh, you must, Britain it over, that you must conduct free and fair election. No, he doesn't require, it is in our own interest. interest of the country to conduct free, fair, credible election that the whole world will say Nigeria has come of age in terms of credibility in the electoral process. And we're going to do it by the grace of God, And I mean that this government also meant very well and they want to do it, We must carry our women along, and that is the truth. I took part in some of the regional sittings, where inputs were received from the constituents, and I saw that the most popular bill, in that amendment process was the reservation of seat for women. Women came in their large numbers in order to support it. And it's like the entire legislative house, all the members were also in favor of probably giving our women. It is mentioned in all the regional sittings. It was the most popular bill. And so it is a bill, its time has come in order to really make sure that our women are given, recognition so that we can have wider, what they call inclusiveness. Inclusion is very key. If you want to run a governance in any country, and one of the parameters they use in measuring your level of civilization and all that is that women and older, people of disabilities are included in governance. Inclusiveness is very key. So we want our women to be part of the process of governing this country, and getting them, making it easier for them to be part of that process is what that bill seeks to achieve. And the Senate President is also leaned towards that. The Senate President is key to ensure that women are part of the entire process of making Nigeria a great country, right? So women are also very there in the majority. And we cannot in any way neglect them. So carrying the women along in the entire process goes a long way in making them to have sense of, inclusion, make them to be part of the entire process to develop a country. This country is one of the best countries in the world. Having the participation of women in governance, will go a long way in making us being seen in the eyes of the world as this is a civilized nation that makes sure that it runs an inclusive government. So it's a good one. And I can assure you that anyone raising controversy, of course, everyone will not agree, but majority of Nigerians are clearly in favor of having our women to be included in governance. I did an article on it, and many lawyers wrote on it. The money was not given by the sole administrator, mind you. It was given by the former governor. By the governor? When he was removed, before he was removed, but he's now the governor, and he's not the one. He wasn't the one demanding for the refund. And then, for your information, that matter has been trashed out. The man also knew that if he wants to go to court, there's no way he could have succeeded. So he left it. So NBA, in a wise decision, took a motion, said that the next conference in 2026 this year will be held in Port Harcourt. So they're going to the same Port Harcourt. So if you are still asking about the returning of that money will never be returned and has never been returned. It has formed part of the 2025 budget. Yes. Has been spent. Are you following me? But as for going to Port Harcourt, that is a concluded deal. We are going to Port Harcourt this year for the conference. The governor who was asking, administrator is gone, and he knew the legality of asking for that money. He doesn't have the locus. In the first place, he was not recognized by the NBA. If you remember, there was this battle. That was even the reason why that conference never held in Port Harcourt, because the government then that was there was not recognized by NBA. NBA felt that it was absolutely wrong to dismantle elected structures, while the government was carrying out an emergency, whatever that they imposed upon that particular state. That the best thing was probably to follow President Buhari's method, where he still carry emergency rule, but then allow the elected structures to stay, and that will be fine. But of course, the Supreme Court now has finally settled the matter that the president has such unfettered power to not only impose emergency rule, but even dismantle elected structure. Then it's not forever and all that, and it must be remembered as the latest Supreme Court decision. So that has been settled. So as I said earlier, We are going to Port Harcourt in 2026, and this is this year. So anyone asking for a refund, there was no refund, and there won't be any refund. But the point is that Port Harcourt is going to host MBA. It was a decision that was taken based upon principle, and that principle was upheld, by MBA to the end. And it was wise that the administrator did not in any way go to court in order to challenge. Wherever Dr. Lace goes in Abia State, majority of Abians are going with him because he has shown governance, he has shown leadership, he has shown commitment, he has shown love for the average Abians. Such a leader, very rare in our century. Such a man is somebody that we should give second term without blinking an eye. We are going with him.